Is it showing anything?
Yep, we see your backend.
Lovely.
Of Joomla, I should clarify.
Please clarify. Funny enough, I don't get to see what I'm seeing, but still. Okay, so this is, oh no, right, 1 second before we go too much further. So this is the back end of Joomla. You can see it's got lots of components on, lots of extensions, loads and loads of plugins, pages and pages and pages of plugins. Lots of them old. So we want to know whether or not we can go to Joomla 4. And so there's a new thing in Joomla 3.10, which is at the moment in alpha, but you can download from Nightly the build if you want to play with this. And all I did for this was, I actually go to show you quickly what I did to get to this state. So I took my site, obviously don't do this on a live site, do this on a dev site. And I went to the updater, and first of all, we have the options over here. We can change the channels. Now, if I go to Nightly, Nightly builds. So here are all the builds of Joomla, the nightly builds, and you can go to 4, 3.10. So here's the 3.10 package, and you can also take this list here and copy this out. You'll see that you've got a list for all of the versions that are the nightlies. And you can paste the lists into your custom URL bit here. So if you paste the link in, you can then select within it if there is a development, an alpha, a beta, a release, or a stable. So obviously there will only really be a stable with the current version. If you pick one of the versions and it's not supported, it will drop down. It seems to drop down to the next one before. So for example, if I'm in 3.10, which only has an alpha, and I pick the beta, it's not that nothing will show, it will just give you the alpha. So that's exactly what I did. I put in the custom URL for the 3.10 series rather than installing any of the packages. And suddenly the updater, suddenly the updater said, yep, I know exactly what we want, and gave me the ability to do it. Now, I'm just reverting this back for a second. So if we go to the updater, this is what you would normally see. So if you've just updated, you're on the latest version of whatever you can do. In this case, I've been going for the 3.10 alpha, and because I've got it, it's saying I can't do anything else because I've already got it. So when you're in 3.10 alpha, the question is, where is this compatibility tool? And it's actually here, but you won't see it unless you start looking for Joomla 4. So to actually stimulate the compatibility here tool, I have to look for Joomla 4. So I'm going to go to the options, and I'm going to change to the custom URL channel, and I've actually put in for the Joomla 4s here. And now if I go to Joomla Updater, as you can see, this is the pre-check. And it takes a little while to load on my site because there's just so many components deliberately curated for testing. Now, I must confess, before we go any further, my job is to test the CMS releases. Hence why on some of the packages that I have, I deliberately have lots and lots and lots of different components. Usually I'd get rid of all of these and just use what I need. But I mean, there's even NBill, which is like years and years old. purely to test things, test against things, and see what breaks and see what doesn't. So that's the job of this. On my main site, obviously, I've cut it down massively and really only show what I need to show. So we've got two sections here. We've got a section which is existing pre-update check, and these are ones that there is no information available. So they haven't got an update server, or the update server isn't configured correctly, and so it's not showing. And then if I scroll all the way down, I then get those updates where there is no update required because it's already compatible with Joomla 4. So, and I can also hit more information, and with this one I can hit more information, and it gives me the extension type, the compatibility version, the current version, and the installed version. So what is the current version of what the person's putting out? What is the compatibility version, and what have I got installed? And you can
just picking one of those out there, Phil. You've got the installer from web.
Yes, so that's an older version. So if I was to update that, that may actually work, or it could be
fourth one down. Fourth one down.
Yeah. So my installed version is 1.05, and the current compatible version is 2.12. So I'd need to be that or higher for it to drop into the other to the other lot. So you've got the pre-check here, which is telling you what you usually see when you're installing Joomla. On the servers that I use, I've always got output buffers on, although they're recommended off, and it's never caused an issue. Some of the things will cause an issue. They're just recommendations. Some of them will cause you problems, but that looks okay. So now we did have a little play with Geraint, and I'm going to hand over to him in a minute to go through this a little bit in more detail because he wrote it, and also to show us about a tool that he's written, which I think I use all the time, which is excellent and has some more information in it which might help you. One thing that we were experimenting with, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do this now while we're still in alpha, is to get some more clarity. So for example, there was another thing, here we go, XT search for Algolia. Now, I actually switched off the package and it still showed. And in fact, this is something we could do now. So if you notice, it's still showing here. Now, let's say I don't need that, but I want to clear it out. I can go to extensions, manage, and then do XT and search. That's not really going to be that helpful. Oh, there you go. So we've got both components and we've got a package as well we'll have. So let's just check the packages. And here it is. So I'm going to switch it off. And now I'm going to go back to my check. It was pulling it in then. Whoa, shoots all over the place. And it's still there. So it could be. Now it's actually saying that it's there and it's a package. But let me just make sure that it's not because I've got the component on.
Do you not need to run the check again? Do you not need to run the check again?
It did. It does it on the fly.
Okay.
So manage. Right. So I'm going to go to the component, and I'm going to actually I'll do search. And take the selection off. So I'm going to actually switch all of these. That sounds bad, but interesting as it resonated through the mics. Okay, so if we go to the and it's going through doing all the checks, and it's still there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to nuke it. So let's try and uninstall it, but from just the package first. So let's do package and uninstall. And now let's just check that it's uninstalled everything. No, so there's a few little bits left, but I still want to run this check.
To me, it makes sense that it's still there if it's still installed, because it is still installed, even if it's disabled.
Right. That's
not to deal with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it's a conversation to have and something to document, and that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I'm just going to remove these last little bit. So that's all gone. I can reload that another day to do more testing. So there you have it. So because something's switched off does not mean that it's not going to be checked. So it'll still be in your check. And so if you don't need things, I think the advice would be to clear it through. But actually, I think Jennifer is probably the best one to discuss that one because she's been writing the documentation. So Jen, what's the recommendation?
So I love the pre-update check. I do. It's gorgeous. It's my opinion that the pre-update check is an overview, and I think it's fabulous, but you're still going to spend significant time in extensions, manage. Just like Phil has these 2 tabs up right now, that's how you're going to live your life as you're prepping for migration and you're checking out all your extensions and what you need to do with each one. It's just important that to know that you have to be in both, and you're going to have to do work in both. It's a fabulous tool to see what you're looking at. And then you still have to do your due diligence and check with the extension developers and with anything where there's no update information available because they didn't tag it or because it maybe has a separate package for 4 than 3, and maybe you need to do something else with it. And you have to just document all that stuff, like whether it's in an Excel spreadsheet or a Word doc or Notepad, or I think we even have PDFs on the planning and step-by-step in the 3 to 4 mini migration documentation as well.
So one of the things I was going to say, and I'll keep saying it as we go through, is it's worth putting 3.10 on if you can, and checking what is and isn't available for update, and then starting to push out. So I'm going to start pushing out to some of these developers because some of them I was surprised that they weren't already compatible. I know several of them actually are in the JED as having 4 alpha next to their name, but they're not showing in here. And that could simply be that they put the work in, but they haven't put the work into the update server.
Well, so, they just didn't put the tag in. If they don't have that tag in the, what is it called? Target, what's it called?
The target platform.
Target platform, love you, right there. So they just might not have tagged it properly. And so everywhere points to whatever documentation the third-party extension developer needs in order to get there. Grant, you put it somewhere in here, right? In the
yes, there's a link to the documentation somewhere on the page.
Okay, so it's there, and then through that documentation, they can get to the piece of documentation that they actually need as devs. But the basic documentation has been written for normal people.
Yeah, so we need to start pushing on the developers to just get that little bit done so that the list gets smaller and smaller. So it's actually really informative of which ones are not going to update. Because we've not got long until and Joomla 4 comes out. So, we need to start pushing. Geraint, would you like to go through your tool to do this? If we can, if you would like to share your screen.
Absolutely.
And is there anything I've missed on this that you as the developer would like to highlight?
Yes, I'll talk briefly about that and then I'll go into your site if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Right, I've not shared a screen in this configuration before because I've got a laptop and a screen above it. So I'm not sure that's going to work, but we'll try.
I think I need to give you permission, do I? There you go. You should have permission now.
Ooh, what's it doing here? That one. That one. Right, what can you see? Can you see a Joomla documents page?
Yep.
Deploying an update server. Right, okay, so this is the article that Jen was just referring to for developers. It talks about how to set up an update server. And further down the page, it talks about the target platform. And the issue is there are various ways of defining the version that an update is applicable to. And sometimes people don't always get the square brackets and the asterisks and things quite right, and it can look as though it's not compatible, but if it is compatible, or even worse, it can sometimes people have said, oh, it's bound to be compatible with 4.0. This was back when Joomla 2.5 was available, and there have been people who said their applications were available for 4.0 when they were nowhere near being ready. So, you know, there's a matter of being careful about that. Okay. My interest in this started for two reasons. One is because I write various extensions and I wanted to make sure that they were going to be compatible with Joomla 4. And I looked at the update server, the page that Philip was just looking at earlier, and it wasn't particularly helpful the way it was written in the past. And I'd been working on something, a system for managing websites and website updates. And I thought the work I'd done there might be helpful in Joomla. So I'll show you how I've done it there in a minute. But what I might do is just give you another couple of examples of what Philip was looking at. Right, so this is just a website, the demo website setup. You see in the URL, it's 3.9. So it's actually a Joomla 3.9 website. I've got another one here, which is Joomla 3.10. So Joomla 3.9 currently doesn't show us any of the pre-update checks. Joomla 3.10 does. And this is a smaller set of extensions that I've installed. If you were to look at the PR, I'll see if I can put it into the chat. How do I get to the chat? Can somebody explain to me how to find the chat from a shared screen? Don't know how to do that. No, I'll find that later. I know this is the pull request I put in for Joomla to implement this update check, the variation in it. And in the initial pull request, I created 6 separate packages, which all have particular characteristics, which will hopefully demonstrate what the compatibility check means. And so you can see the different types. So if I go back to my 3.10 website, this is the result I've got. The update information is unavailable for these 3 sites. I have got here, where are we? These extensions don't use the Joomla update system, or they provide no compatibility information. So this one here is a component. So the top one is a component or a package that gives the update URL in the component file. Now that sounds a bit strange, but some people do that. So they have a package and the manifest file, this is for developers now, the manifest XML file includes the update server, but the package doesn't. So in Joomla at the moment, this shows, sorry, that's my G3, my 3G dongle kicking in there. It's showing no compatibility information, even though the developer has provided compatibility information, but it's currently provided via the component as opposed to in the package file. So again, there's a question whether that should be included here or not. Ideally, the developer should see this as wrong and change their package setup. The second one is Joomla 3 is up to date, but there's no Joomla update element in the package. So you can see here, you've got Joomla 3 installed. The currently compatible version is 1.00, same as the version installed, and there's no information about the 4.0 version. So that's not compatible. And the final one is there's no compatibility information at all from the developer. So they've just created a package that's not tied into the Joomla updater. The second set where there's an update required, I'll go into more detail again here. We've got version 1.0 installed. Current compatible version is 1.10, and it's available for both the current version of Joomla 3.10 and for the next version 4.0. And then finally, there's a no update required. These are quite straightforward. The second one down here is this update is up to date in Joomla 3.10 and 4. There's a little gotcha here, which I'm putting in just to demonstrate the situation that could arise, which is you have version 1.0 installed. Version 1.10 is available for Joomla 3, but the update server is only saying for Joomla 4 that the version 1.0 is available. So that's probably a mistake. So that's why we flag it in with this yellow and saying that the developer is offering a newer version for Joomla 3 as opposed to Joomla 4. So that's something you should take up with the developer. So if you're confused by how all this works, it might be worth going to that PR, installing those on a new site, and you can actually see the different scenarios we've created and actually maybe understand a bit better what they mean. Okay, so what inspired me to get this presentation was actually an application I've written called YourSites. It's used for managing websites. I'm using the YourSites demo site. I've switched off the auto updater. Hopefully it's not going to disappear on me as it updates once an hour. I've tried to disable the cron. I've added 2 websites to this system, the Joomla 3.0 upgrade demo and the Joomla 3.920 upgrade demo site. Now, unlike Joomla, we can actually check for compatibility updates from Joomla 3.9. You don't need to wait for 3.10 to do the checks. And one thing that can be important is if you're going from version 3.9 to version 3.10, you may find that something doesn't work. There are a few backward compatibility issues which might cause an issue there. So it's probably a good idea to check before you go from 3.9 on a site to 3.10 that it's going to be compatible. You can do that in your site. If you go to the options, I can go in and on the advanced tab, compatibility test options, I can change the version I want to test against to be version 3.10.0. Save those settings. I can now go back to my list of sites. And the 3.9 site, but this is a Joomla 3.9, not a 3.10 site. I can run check for Joomla upgrade compatibility. This is now making a request of the site, making the function calls required. I can see a summary of that information here, or a little bit clearer maybe is here. The same information we can see on the Joomla update, but we also get the pre-update, the extension pre-update check. And we actually provide in a little bit more detail than the Joomla version does. People wanted a simpler version within Joomla, but we provide a bit more information in the YourSites version, such as the date that the package was created. If you have a package, what that package contains. So this package contains components, modules, plugins, and so forth. And as Phil highlighted, we have here for this package, I've disabled this package on the 3.9 site. So I can check the compatibility, but it's also flagged to say that the extension is disabled on the client site. And one thing here that is interesting is this is the component package here that we saw there was a problem with. So remember I said that the developer was providing an update via the component manifest file instead of the package. And so their results is there's no information here at all. But this is actually the component here. And we can see this component here, it is available in 1.10. So that might be more useful to the developer. It might be useful to a user. We can go now and change it to 4.0 as the check. Save that. And now I could run the update checks, compatibility check on both these sites, the 3.9 and the 3.10 site. It goes off, requests information from both sites. And again, I can look at the information here or using the pop-ups. Here I can look at the Joomla 4 upgrade compatibility data. It shows me the information there. So that's basically how we can provide this, a little bit more detail of the information compared to what Joomla provides. Now, what are you going to actually do when you do your upgrade? Because I know I did a couple of tests on a few demo sites and came up against some major problems. Sometimes the developer had said the extension was functional. Sometimes they hadn't, and I tried an upgrade in any case, and then my site was completely locked out. In YourSites, we actually provide a tool that makes that a little bit easier. There are other ways of doing it. You could, I'll show you what I was going to do first. I could take my 3.1 site and I could clone that site to a subdirectory. So basically what we're going to do is take the whole of that website, the files and the database, and create a clone or a copy of that website into a very obscure subdirectory of that site. I'm not going to do it now because it takes 2 or 3 minutes to run through, and I don't want to keep you waiting while that happens, but I can show you. Don't know how many of you, the non-British people, have seen Blue Peter, but a children's program when we grew up, they always had one that they prepared earlier.
Here's one I've made earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So I archived these a couple of minutes ago before we came online. Let's get to the right one. So E8. So I'm going to. That was the wrong thing to do. Unpublished. I shall publish that item. So the 3.10 site here we had at the beginning, all I did was I selected the site and then cloned to a subdirectory. And it created, after a couple of minutes processing, this entry here, which is created in a subfolder ._YSTS_E8XQT. It's basically a URL that's going to be pretty difficult for somebody to guess. It's only a temporary site, so you shouldn't leave them sitting around on your server. But if you're wanting to test if your site is going to be compatible with 4.0, then that's probably a good thing to do. We could go through the update checks, see what the compatibility data is on that site. Let's say all this was looking good and we were happy to go ahead with the upgrade, but we wanted to make sure that everything was okay. We would now select this site, check the core version.
Jake, can I ask you a question on that? Does it turn the robots to no follow and all that stuff? Not that it's quite as important.
It doesn't do that. No. All it does is it puts it in an obscure folder, because basically you can do the same thing with Akiba. You can create an Akiba backup, and you can put that on another server. You could put it on a subdirectory. You could put it into a subdomain. It's a lot more work to do. This is just a one-click. The advantage of cloning it onto the same server is the same server settings are all in place. It's probably only something you should have up for a couple of hours at a time. Hopefully, since it's an obscure URL, there's no links to it. No search engines are going to find it. You can always put the site offline as soon as you've created it, in any case.
Is it possible to choose the location?
Say again, sorry?
Is it possible to choose the location? I was thinking maybe putting it on a subdomain.
Well, yes, I thought about doing it on subdomains. The problem with subdomains is that it might be the PHP might not be able to write to a folder that is outside the root of itself. Does that make sense? So the script creating the clone is running in the website. And if I know my hosting company, my subdomains are hosted in a folder above public HTML.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
So that
Okay.
wouldn't work.
Basically,
So yes, it's at the moment we just rely on an obscure URL. We could set it up so you could choose your prefix or choose a particular path to install into, but we haven't done that yet. I need to go in now because this is already set up at 3.10. We need to do this equivalent to what Philip did a little while ago. We need to tell it to look for the 4.0 versions. Go to advanced settings, and we need to change the update server options. It explains the patch minor and the major releases, what they would be. We need to change this to be checking now for the nightly versions of the major release, which is going to be the 4.0 release. I can now go off and check on this cloned site. It'll check the update, the Joomla update server to see if there's a new version, and it says to me, yes, version 4.0 beta 4 dev is available. And now it's there. So I can actually now click on here, and it would go away and upgrade that site to Joomla 4, and without the need to do the same on the live site. Again, that's going to take a few minutes to run. So I'm going to show you the one I prepared earlier.
Did you ever get a Blue Peter badge, Geraint?
Say again, sorry?
Did you ever get a Blue Peter badge?
I didn't, no, maybe I should send this in. So
Well,
this is the demo version, the clone of the site, which I did the equivalent of this and then had clicked this button and it upgraded to 4.0. And we can just confirm that is 4.0. If I click on the link, it'll open it up, and it did that upgrade for us. That is, it's Joomla 4.0. Now, a couple of other little things which are maybe a little bit more advanced. When I did my upgrade, there was actually a couple of broken plugins, which meant that I couldn't log into the back end. I couldn't get the front end to work at all. It was completely broken. But YourSites was still working because it's a system plugin that runs very early in the sequence of plugins on the client site. So what I was able to do was, even though the site after the upgrade was broken, I wanted to find out why was it broken. Could I try and repair it so that I could get into the site and uninstall things and basically try and recover my broken 4.0 site. Now, let's publish the item. We'll see if we can. I can't simulate. I can show you how I did it. I can't simulate the same thing because this extension doesn't have any broken plugins. But let's say trying to access this site generated a 500 system error or a 403 not allowed error. I could select that site and I could diagnose a fatal error in the front end or the back end. And what that gives you is the debug trace of where that crash happened. It's not guaranteed to work every time because it all depends when it happens and how it handles the exceptions and so forth. But in my scenario, I was able to find the 5 or 6 things that are broken. I diagnosed and I found that one of them was a system plugin that was broken. I was then able to go into the extensions list for that particular site, and let's say it was this package that was broken. I was then able on the site, I could either uninstall it, where is it? Uninstall that extension on that client site, or disable the extension on the client site. Then after 2 or 3 of those steps, I was then able to get into the site that was broken in Joomla 4. So I thought that was a helpful thing for me. It's not going to be something that we can replicate within Joomla core, unfortunately, because you need to be able to interface with the site without, in a secure way, without, well, basically, we don't have that interface in place.
Could use web services.
Say again, sorry?
Could use the new web services.
Yes, potentially, or a CLI script, yeah. Unfortunately, there's no incentive for me to write those scripts because I've already got them built in here. So
Well, also,
So basically what we do here is provide more information, a bit more detailed information than Joomla, provide a cloning mechanism, which you can then use to test your upgrades. If things work as you want, you can then upgrade the live site. When you're done with your clone, you can just select delete the clone site, and that will delete all the files in the subfolder and all the tables in the cloned tables that created in the database. So there's no disincentive for doing this. You know, if it didn't work and you need to clean it out and start again, clean it out, create a new clone, try again. So basically, you know, I think it's quite a helpful way of making sure that you have a usable site when you do the migration to Joomla 4. So any questions?
That's absolutely fantastic. It's a great tool.
The only reason that one of the only reasons I asked Geraint to come on and do these talks is because he's awful at writing up what his products do. So occasionally I ask Geraint, could he actually do something in your sites? And yet we already does that. So why don't you tell us? So this package is amazing. Again, I've learned new things, Geraint, tonight, which I didn't know it did, which I've been sitting on. So Gary, we could have done with that front-end diagnosis, couldn't we? The other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, usually you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to be a system plugin. And I think there's only about 3 or 4 that need to run. So I must actually go through and do that again, switch them all off, find out which ones you have to switch on to get the site to work. You can do it from the database. And then write that up, because that would be a useful tool to do. Just switch them all off apart from the few that you need to run. And then basically slowly switch on your system plugins. As I say, your check's brilliant. The only problem often is that it breaks just before the thing that it reports. So you don't get to see the thing that it reports. But it'd be really interesting to see your tool, because I know in log files, that's often the issue. It's not the thing that it looks like broke it, it's the thing before.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I think this feature alone is worth its weight in gold in, you know, the amount of time that you might take to try and disable plugins or extensions through the back end by, you know, going into PHP admin and trying to turn them on and off through the database. I mean, it just save hours trying to do this. And if you can do
it doesn't guarantee that it always finds it.
No,
it's
I
just,
understand,
you know,
but
about 70% of the time, it does allow you to find which plugin is causing the problem.
at least if you're given the chance to kind of, you know, try, test, repeat, rinse, whatever, and just keep going until you've got it working, it's just going to save hours, especially on a site where you've got a lot of extensions. And, you know, nobody tries to install too many extensions on the site, but sometimes you have a lot.
Well, the interesting thing about this tool in YourSites and what we now have in Joomla in the 3.10 update compatibility check is, you know, how many people are going to be discovering they've got such and such an extension which they installed 16 years ago and haven't used since, and it's just sitting there on the site and they don't remember they had it installed.
Explorer. So I used to use Explorer years and years ago before it was discovered there was a major back hole to it, whereby it was actually secured if you went through the Joomla part, but because it was designed to also work as a standalone, the standalone, I think, if I remember rightly, had its password set to password and its login set to admin. So effectively, the Joomla part was really secure. But all you need to do is know the URL to the standalone ability, and you could then log in, and that was basically a file browser for your entire site. So you could upload any rootkit you liked to wherever you liked. And only the other day, I was searching through in YourSites for something, and I found an old dev site that still had Explorer on it. So, and quickly nuked it. But yeah, it's an absolutely brilliant tool. I use it all the time. And we've actually redone all of our backups through it recently because it's easier to set it through one cron on your site and then use your site's interface than it is to have, I mean, in my case, I've got over 150 websites. So 150 web crons working in individual on multiple servers in individual areas is a nightmare to maintain. Whereas with your sites, I can literally just go through them all. In fact, an overview of all your cron jobs would be really good. But it is really, really, really excellent at that sort of thing.
It already does that, Phil.
Yeah, it probably does. But the cloning tool I really, really like. Now, the only thing I'd ask is I've not used it yet. Would it need to be able to produce the database on the fly, or do you give it the database details? Because my server is locked so that you can't just stimulate a database from the website.
Well, all it does is it creates new tables with a new prefix in the same database that we already have.
Fantastic. Yep, that makes total
But
sense.
the prefix is
Yeah,
that
so
strange,
yeah.
long, weird prefix.
Fantastic. Yeah, it did look a little bit like a database table prefix, the first part of it. So I did wonder if that was something to do with it.
Well, the dot underscore is so that it's a hidden Linux file.
Yes.
So even if somebody has indexing enabled on the side, you won't be able to find it because it's a hidden file. So it's just trying to do everything possible to make it difficult to find. It is not something you should leave there. You need to, after you've done your experimentation, you should uninstall it. But it's good for testing and checking things.
Once you do that, Geraint, does that clear out the database tables as well?
It does. It clears the database tables and the files. And one thing we added recently, I know some sites I was using this on had a huge amount of image and video data. And the settings in the cloning now allows you to take the images from the parent website. So it basically checks, if you're running site checks and things, it'll use the images from the parent site, and you can basically tell it, don't clone these folders. They're not necessary for checking. So if you've got, MP4 files, you can basically tell the clone, I don't need to copy those. That's not part of my testing. Another thing that's useful to know is if you have on your site certain pages that you want to be checking, if you've already set them up in your sites for, I can go in, site checking, I can do specific site checks on my website. I can put in a particular URL, content I want to check for on that page, add as many of those as I want. So if there are key pages you want to check the performance of in your 3.9 site, and you've already got those set up, you can then check that those sites are all running the same way on 4.0. So basically, once you've done your upgrade on your cloned site, run the checks, and it'll basically tell you this page no longer has the content on this page that it should do. Also, it works with site forms as well. You can basically put in the form and the URL. Once I start adding information, it'll give me what I want to check in terms of the result page of the form and so forth. So that's another thing. If you've basically got your site checks in place, you can do your dummy upgrade to 3.10 or your dummy upgrade to 4.0 on your cloned site, check that all your key pages are still performing as they should. And then they're not the same as doing a full manual check yourself, but at least you've done a quick hygiene test.
The only question I have on that one is, can you change the time on the graph? I found that when I did quite a few checks, it all kind of merged together. So the time period needs to be stretched out.
But I mean, that happened too quickly.
No, I was doing them once an hour, but it showed them too many in one. So basically, the time period on the graph was very close together. So once an hour still all showed like there was 15 in the same day point.
Let's see, I've got...
Scale of the graph then.
Is it the site performance graph you're looking at?
Yeah.
I might not have this because this is the demo site. We don't run any cron jobs, so we don't have that. So I can't. Okay. Yeah, the demo site when you got the 1 point. So if it basically what Phil's saying, I think, is if you run your site up checks regularly, you were finding these were bunched together. Is that right? Instead of being spread.
Yeah, I'll try and find what I'm talking about.
It seems like it must be the scale of the axis then, right?
Yes, it was.
No, well, the scale is based, takes the last, I think it's the last 20 days by default, and there is an XY graph. It's not a, so if you're doing quite a few checks at the same time. So let's say you're manually running checks. It will look like several at the same time in your main chart.
I have
Shall
a
I stop
question.
sharing?
Because you mentioned that you can, you don't have to use the images and MP4s and all that stuff. But it gave me a thought that actually one problem I run into is that clients upload ridiculously sized images, and it would be really
Yes.
nice to have a check and say, you know, you don't need a 500K image or whatever it is, or 2 megabytes image for that 30 pixel image that you're using. That sort of thing would be a really useful check.
Geraint, can I just share one live thing with everybody, because that answers kind of Owen's question. If I can quickly share my
I'll stop
screen.
sharing.
Where's my screen share gone? Oh, here we are. So if I share screen and share this one, and so Geraint's beginning of his site does loads of checks. So it tells you total sites, just so many things about extensions and stuff, complete backups. And here it shows the size, the site performance summary. There's a site on here that's valve size convalve, which is the worst performing site on my server. This one's massive site. They have 1 million views a month. This one's a massive site. They have 1 million views a month. Investify, that's a really big site. That's the police, big telecoms providers. But this is a really tiny site, and yet its site performance is terrible.
I think that's the one I built.
Oh, is it, Gary? Is that the one you built? Wow.
That one you optimized, yeah?
Yeah, optimizing wasn't in the quote.
No, clearly. But it also does web page sites. So this is game real life. So this one's a business awards. It's got loads of big pictures and videos. This one's a cricket site. Lots of lovely shots of on-site cover drives.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sorry?
Can I interrupt for a second? You've got two bars there on your sites. They're both showing the same amount. What that tells me is you're not checking for images, CSS files, and JS files in the pages.
Right.
So that's a setting within that site. If you edit that site in the site checks, you can tell it to check for JS files, CSS files, and images as well, and it would include it.
Right, let's do it on softboard so we don't give too many things away. So where should I be checking that?
Edit the set entry on site checks.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it site checks.
Settings.
We can see your password actually.
You see default site checks to perform says global settings, change that. And you can now check client sites, JavaScript, CSS files, and images.
Can you not set that globally then?
Is there any way to do that globally?
That is a global setting, yes, but you can set it on specific sites. So you can set it globally. The default is global setting. Or you can, if you only want to check that on some sites, you know, for premium sites, you might want to check that if you're run-of-the-mill sites, you're not going to check.
Right.
If you now select your site, you might want to filter the list, to show just your site on the left, the search box.
Sorry, where?
The search box, just put your site name where it says search and clear.
Yeah.
Put your name of your site in there.
And your password.
Then you don't need to give all your client information away.
So was that just a list of sites that we should try and hack, Phil?
Yeah.
So if you now click the checkbox and do site checks, check site up.
Sorry, check the which one?
Select the site, select the checkbox on the left. Site checks on the top. Site checks.
Yep.
And then check site is up.
The only one that I have problems with is one where they they've got an HTML file in front of the in front of the PHP. So they wanted it so when you go to the site, it checks that you have a certain password thing beforehand. So it's really irritating. So the index file isn't the first one that's fired. That's the police again.
So it's 1.37 seconds. If you close that now.
The problem is the police is behind all of your faces, and I don't know if I can get to it because of
down a bit, right a bit, back to the golden shot, right a bit.
Yeah, right shot.
seriously, I'm over my bit in
Right, shot.
Zoom.
Can't you move the faces?
I don't
Just
know. Oh, there they
little-
go. There they go. Got it.
One more inch.
Yeah.
Right, and now on the list of on the info column, do you see the bar charts? No, next to the site name, the bar charts under info, you got to there, click on that.
Site performance info, yeah.
No, not that one.
No, not that one. That's the info.
The other bar chart.
Not the info. Yes.
That's the speed, I think. It's the page sizes, yes. No, it didn't give you both. It should have given you
He
both.
didn't change it and save it, actually. He didn't change it and save it, so that's why.
Don't worry, we'll do
right.
it all the time. But yeah.
Basically, if you change that, it would pick up all the image sizes. So if you had pages that have very large images on them, it would flag them. There's been a
Right.
suggestion that we should have a site crawler built in so you could crawl over the sites and analyze all the sites for that sort of information. But
I actually built a little Linux routine which checks for the top 10 largest files that are above a certain size, because clients used to do that. So if you set a limit of, say, 250K, then it will basically flag and tell you any sites that any files that are over that limit. And something like that would be really useful, because then you can just keep hammering the top ones that are outside of that range.
If you can automate an email at the end of it as well, stop doing that, please.
But I was just thinking I'd then get a cane and whack them over the knuckles again, because I'm quite harsh on my clients.
A 404 checker would be quite nice.
404 check. Yeah.
Yes, we're working on that.
Broken links, effectively.
Here's
Broken
one
links.
made in the future.
Seriously, Geraint has done so much. This tool has grown so fast. It
See,
is
these are all my ideas, Phil. Glad to see us listening.
every time I come up with an idea, he says it's already there. Yeah.
Yes, you shouldn't show your list of clients, Philip.
No, I'm not too fussed. They're pretty secure. I mean, I've got the Police Digital Security Centre. The amount of hack attempts on that is phenomenal. You can tell when people are on holiday, because the school kid hacks just go up exponentially. They haven't got in yet.
Me and Gary haven't tried yet.
Yeah, I've had a few universities. We've had Lizard and Anonymous both have a go.
Oh, I don't know who Lizard are. That's how they're anonymous.
Who Lizard are? Okay.
I don't hang in those crews, you know.
Yeah, well, my roots. No, it's a brilliant tool. To be honest, while you were doing that talk, I was thinking, especially with the cloning, this is exactly what the CMS release team needs, because we have to spin up client sites to check the latest version of Joomla. It's got everything we need. It really has got everything we need.
Must be a faster way, though.
No, I think this is a better way.
I agree. I think this is a better way.
Yeah, because you can spin it up, you can try it, because we get multiple patches that come out. So that's the only thing. Yeah, we'd have to actually be able to install by because security releases are not released on the internet. But I mean, It's the problem. We get the security releases and everything, and we've only got a day to test. So perhaps Geraint.
What are you talking about? You're talking about installing patches or installing extensions?
Yes. So we get installable updates.
Right. Well, you can install from your site. You don't have to install on the client site itself.
Right. Yes.
So basically, having selected a site, if you then select the extensions drop down at the top, you can install a package. You upload the package.
This will be a whole
and
Joomla.
Install it on the client site.
So what about a whole Joomla? So if Harold brought out 321 tomorrow as an FTP, as a update file, could we then?
That's a Joomla update as opposed to an extension update.
Yes.
You can't install it from the extension manager. You have to install it from the Joomla updater, do you?
Yes.
Right. At the moment, it's not there, but given we've already got it for the extension installer, it shouldn't be difficult to add it as a feature.
Seriously, that would be an amazing one for the CMS release team. because
that might be useful for everyone, because sometimes the updater doesn't work and you have to do it manually.
yeah. But you see, the thing that you have to, you see, the problem with running it manually is you're not running the MySQL queries. So that's why you have to run the installer through the installer, so that you can't just FTP it on, because you won't have updated the tables if there's any table updates.
I know, I mean, if you press update, it's like, oh, we can't reach the server, but you can still load the file sort of thing. So still through the installer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, everything we do, we use the native Joomla code. So when we install an extension, we use the Joomla code to install the extension. We upload the file, we manage the security of the interface, and then we tell Joomla, here's your package. And it's as if you're on your browser doing the install. So basically, we just need to get the right library code for the Joomla updater users instead of the Joomla installer. And we can then upload a file and install it using the Joomla updater code.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll have a look to see if that's doable.
If it is, that would be absolutely awesome. I'll have a conversation offline on that. That would be really useful.
It'd probably be useful to do the patch tester as well, wouldn't it?
What do you mean by do the patch tester?
Well,
You add patch tester into your sites
yes.
instead
So you could
of
basically, you could take a patch file from the GitHub pull request and apply it to a client site from your sites.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Surprised it doesn't do that already.
I think I might want to be careful giving normal people the ability to do that on a live site, because they really shouldn't do it on a live site, should they?
No, no. No, but this would be for a clone site. So you could set it up so it only works on
Right.
clone.
Okay.
If you're going to basically say you have a
I
clone
get you.
site, you apply a patch.
That'd be amazing.
And then you could do it over and over again. You could basically say that didn't work, destroy the clone. They give you a new patch, spin up a new clone, apply the patch. It's basically makes much easier. You've got your really nice test site with all your extensions that you want to test with there, and you want to test a patch file. Spin up a clone, apply the patch file, and
Well, maybe
That would boost testing.
Yeah, it'll make testing so much easier. Yeah.
Totally.
Ridiculously.
even just a link to the patch tester so that it was very easy to install. So you spin up your clone, you've then got an extra option of adding the patch tester, push the latest patch tester in, because the latest patch tester also pulls in the tags, and this is what we're trying to extend with patch tester. And then you can pick the particular patch you want to add and then install it.
yeah, I'll have a think about that.
I was just going to say, think about it.
Yeah, because
Yes,
patch
I'm not
tester
committing
really
to
does quite a
thinking about
lot.
Yeah, but it would be better to install it like Geraint's idea, because you might test multiple patches. You might want to just clone one, apply a patch there, apply a patch there. That'd be much easier, wouldn't it?
You're not supposed to apply patches together. You're supposed to.
Exactly. So rather than
That's what he's saying. Y'all are saying the same thing.
no, rather than installing the patch tester on each site, you could just employ the patch on each site.
Yes. Yeah. I think it was more work than just installing the patch tester. But yes, no.
I think it all looks fabulous.
Yeah, it's great. I use it. So
Geraint. Did I get it this time?
Geraint. Don't worry.
A bit more of a Welsh accent, Jennifer.
I lived in New York for 5 years, and the people there, it took them best part of 5 years to be able to get it right. So don't worry about it.
Okay, well, certainly I can get it before 5 years. No?
Yes.
Geraint. Say Geraint.
It's
Geraint. Geraint. Okay. I think it looks fabulous, Geraint.
Yeah, just a couple more years.
Smack you one.
But I can say wholeheartedly, I feel your pain. It's been 39 years and my mum still can't say my name.
Oh, we
I
can't.
can't say your name either. I'm not even trying.
I can only spell it when it's on the screen in front of me.
It's similar to my granddad. I never know who the birthday card's going to come to.
Anyone got any other questions about this amazing tool and the whole Joomla 3 to Joomla 4 Because
I was going to say something actually. On the pre-update check, there are going to be times when something is showing up in the red area, but it will migrate just fine. And I just wanted you to know that. Because I have a bunch of them that show up in the red, but they will migrate on the one click. Not all of them, but a number of them, because they're not tagged properly.
And we got the person that wrote the docs. So if you're going to ask any questions, now is the time.
Excellent. Actually, I need help with the docs. If anybody knows how to actually work in the frickin' wiki, I didn't use the actual swear word though. I'm trying to be good. I don't know half the people here. I cannot get the ordering to go how I want, and the images that I was so frustrated, but then I just had to ditch the team. So so if anybody is any decent at docs, if you could help me with just some minor things.
I can try and help. I have edited them.
It's just formatting stuff. That would be great.
I can try.
Can I send you a link?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I don't know how to send you a link. Do I?
Uses MediaWiki, doesn't it?
Yes. If only there was some other software that was translatable. If only we knew of one, we could use that instead.
You couldn't do it in Joomla.
I don't want to talk about that.
So you've got pain, I've got pain. So I had to do Pizza Bugs and Fun intro video with Benjamin and the head of docs doing docs. And so I had to go through 2 lots of him feigning to get it. Do you remember last year how he kept getting it in the wrong order? When he was trying to put in the capture and we were all shouting at the screen. Well, it went worse to the point where on the second one, Benjamin actually did an hour's tuition beforehand and then we scrubbed the whole piece because he couldn't get in. And there I am trying to show him how easy it is and he wouldn't let me in. So it is just awful.
Just to interrupt, before Laura goes, can we get her to plug her event that she's going to hold?
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. So we are having a user group meeting next Wednesday at August 26th. It's 1800 UTC, 2 p.m. Eastern. I think that's the same time as this started now. Hopefully I got that right. And it's going to be doing custom fields with Mark, and it's how you can work with custom fields with external data sources. It's the same session he gave to the Joomla Australia user group, or maybe it happened this morning or something. But
it happened this morning. Yeah, it's really, really good. If anyone didn't go to it, 100% go to it. It's really good.
Yeah, so come to us in New Jersey. It's the same time. It's Wednesday, and I just threw a link in the chat. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. And you can click on the register link on the page, and then you can register for the Zoom.
We'll throw we'll throw a link and the details in the description for the video as well.
And Laura, would you announce it on the day in the Bugs and Fun at Home channel? Because that seems to be the most active channel in GLIP for developers.
I will. Yeah, what I'll do, the bugs, yes, sure. I'll put it in Bugs Fun and Home. I'll put it in the JUGL organizers. I'll put it in the community. I'll
put it on the Joomla Facebook page, obviously.
And tweet at Joomla London.
Now, the Joomla Facebook page, I'm not sure, can I just load something? I guess I can, right? Because sometimes...
I know someone else who does it quite regularly.
I know. Should I ask her to upload it? Yeah, or someone?
Well, I do it myself. I was referring to me, not Alison.
So you do it yourself. Okay, I don't mind doing it.
Yeah, do it. Just do it. And
so
if there's a way to subscribe to your newsletter or something so we get reminded, that would be cool.
What's the worst could happen?
Yeah, they'll just take it down. Yeah. So I'll put that up probably next Monday. When you do something too far in advance, it doesn't really, everyone ignores it. Yeah, so thank you. And I think, what about Joomla Day Chicago? Yes, SD, you have to run.
Yeah, plug it.
So, SD, are you still here? Or are you out? Go.
I'm here. We are doing Joomla Day Chicago, October 17th. It is in Central Standard Time. We have lots of slots open, but it will be a live summit online. And for those that have time zones that are not compatible, we will be able to do pre-recorded sessions. We're looking for people to do technical stuff like, we have a session on SaaS and things like that. We're also looking for Joomla topics as well as anything that is business or marketing related. If you have any questions or you want to sign up to attend or speak, you can check us out at joomladaychicago.com. There is a $20 fee to have live and replay access. If you don't want to have replay access, it's free to attend.
What was the date?
October 17th.
If I speak, do you pay my flights?
Oh,
It's all online, so sure.
okay. So October the 17th is also, I was going to say it'd be really interesting to talk there, but October the 17th is also Pizza Bugs and Fun.
But I was out there first. You guys came in later.
I'm not so sure.
Stole their thunder, Phil.
A year ago, but yeah. So maybe what we should do is have a little session where we join up.
Sure.
Maybe we should have Chicago pizza.
Yeah.
And also, guys, before you leave, I've just chucked a link to a feedback form for this JUG. If you want to fill that in, that would help us a lot.
So could I do a talk then on Pizza Bugs and Fun at your Chicago meet?
You can.
There you go. We can do a live one and get people to do some testing at the Chicago meet while doing Pizza Bugs and Fun.
With Geraint's new updated.
Exactly. I think that's a win-win-win situation.
I'll do one on a custom Joomla form field if you want.
Sure. I have lots of room left because we're doing parallel sessions. So people can jump through. So, but I do have to run because I have an appointment coming up. But it was a great session. I appreciate you guys doing it, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, lovely to see you. See you then.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, SD.
Okay, that wraps it up from this month's JUGL ZoomUp. A big thanks to our guests and presenters. Information and links are in the show notes below. We really appreciate you watching, so let us know in the comments whether you think these recordings from our monthly ZoomUps are useful or not. Also, clicking subscribe will make it easier to find our new releases next time. Joomla User Group London ZoomUps are held on the third Tuesday of every month, so hopefully see you on the next one.